You're about to take a complete TOEFL listening practice test. Now this test has been updated for the recent change in July of 2023 to the TOEFL iBT test. Now the big changes on the TOEFL iBT are in the reading and writing sections. The speaking and listening haven't changed much, but there's one thing you should note about the TOEFL listening, is that there is no more extended passage. So in the past, sometimes they would give you an extended part. They would give you an extra part to do, and it didn't count towards your grade. They don't do that anymore. So you can expect 2 parts, 5 listening passages on test day, always. All right, so this is the updated version. Couple other things to keep in mind. First thing is that answers are in the description. Can't say this enough. Don't write in the comments where are the answers. They are in the description. If you need an answer key, you need an explanation, there's a PDF, a link that you can download. You'll see it in the description. The next thing is that on test day, you're in control of your time. So here, I only give you a certain amount of time per passage to kind of mimic the entire time that you'll have. But on test day, if you answer a question quickly, you can do it quickly, you can go slowly. You do have a set amount of time, so you have to be careful of that. But just so you know, here, each question has the same amount of time, but on test day, it's up to you if you want to go a little faster. And the last thing is that check out the TOEFL Emergency Premium course. We have study plans for students if you have 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 month, fits your schedule, has a lot of practice tests, practice questions, and tips and tricks and strategies. If you're tired of wasting your time with TOEFL and you just want to know everything you need as quickly as possible, this is the perfect course for you. This offer is only available on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description below to the TOEFL Emergency Premium course. But that's about it. Good luck, everybody, and I'll see you at the end. Now listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Hey, Professor, do you have a minute to chat?
Absolutely, Chris. What's going on?
I thought the midterm would be just about the adaptation of animals in the savannah, but now we've started reviewing other ecosystems. Will we have to know about...
Sorry to interrupt, but before I forget, have you applied for the teacher's assistant position yet?
Oh, you mean the TA job? No, I haven't. I was planning on doing that later tonight, actually.
Okay, great, because the deadline is in 2 weeks, and I would really love for you to come on as a TA so we can do research together.
Of course, yeah, that's the plan.
There is another student who already applied, and she got the position. So now there's just 1 slot left, and I would hate to see you miss out on it. It would be a great opportunity and learning experience for you, not to mention, look good on your job applications.
You're right. I definitely don't want to lose this position. I just have a couple of questions before I submit my application, though. The job description says it will be a commitment of about 20 hours a week, but in reality, does it end up being more than that? Just considering all the papers to grade and research to do?
In the beginning, it might take you a bit longer than 20 hours to get all your work done, but once you get the hang of it, you should be just fine. Of course, you can always put in more hours with me doing research, but I also understand if you need to cut back a little if you have a test coming up or something like that.
That's good to know. And also, what do I do if I don't know how to answer a student's question? I'm worried that the students won't have confidence in me if I'm unsure of what to say.
Don't worry. It's fine if you don't know the answer to something, and all you need to do is be honest. But let the students know that you promise to look it up and get back to them as quickly as possible. The last thing you want to do is lie about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I can do that. All right, well, then I think I will go to the library right now and get my application so I don't miss out. Thank you for reminding me and answering my questions. I'm excited.
Great. Now, what is it you wanted to ask me about the midterm?
Now, answer the questions. 1. What is the conversation mainly about?
2. What is the student implying about the TA position when he asks the professor about the papers he will have to grade? Three. Why does the professor want the student to apply to become a TA? Select 2. Four. Why hasn't the student applied to be a TA yet? Select 2. Five. What does the professor tell the student to do if he does not know the answer to a question from a student? Now listen to part of a talk in an American history class.
So much of the American South, particularly cities today like New Orleans and others along the Mississippi, grew out of the immense success of one particular crop, cotton. In the era before the Civil War of the 1860s, planters in the American South continued to grow mostly tobacco and rice as they had done for over 100 years. Cotton, however, emerged as the South's major commercial crop, replacing tobacco, rice, and sugar in economic importance. By 1860, much of the American South was producing 2/3 of the world's cotton. In 1793, Eli Whitney revolutionized the production of cotton when he invented the cotton gin, a device that separated the seeds from raw cotton. Suddenly, a process that was extraordinarily labor-intensive when done by hand could be completed quickly and easily.
Wait, so cotton wasn't popular before the invention of the cotton gin?
Well, yes, I would say that's accurate. Almost no cotton was grown in the United States in 1787, and by 1840, cotton became the key cash crop for the Southern economy. But I think it would be helpful to take a step back and take a closer look at how cotton was grown. Okay, cotton planting took place in March and April when slaves planted seeds in rows around 3 to 5 feet apart. Over the next several months, from April to August, they carefully took care of the plants, which took significant energy and time. In August, after the cotton plants had flowered and the flowers had begun to give way to actual cotton, all the farm slaves, men, women, and children, worked together to pick the crop. Cotton picking occurred as many as 7 times a season as the plant grew and continued to produce through the fall and early winter. During the picking season, slaves worked from sunrise to sunset with a 10-minute break at lunch. Many slaveholders tended to give them little to eat, since spending on food would cut into their profits. The slaves' day didn't end after they picked the cotton. First, they had to bring it in to be weighed. Then they had to care for the animals and perform other chores. Indeed, slaves often maintained their own gardens and livestock, which they tended after working the cotton fields in order to supplement their supply of food.
This is really terrible. It's hard for me to imagine that no one thought of how inhumane it all was.
Well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest factors was greed, to be honest. As the cotton industry boomed in the South, the Mississippi River quickly became the essential water highway in the United States. This led to the growth of other industries besides just cotton. Steamboats, as a crucial part of the transportation revolution, became an integral part of the cotton trade in the American South. Investors poured huge sums of money into steamships. In 1817, only 17 operated in the rivers in and around the Mississippi, but by 1837, there were over 700 steamships in operation. Major new ports developed to handle all these ships, which brought about the development of modern-day cities like St. Louis, Missouri, and Memphis, Tennessee.
Wow, so is this how New Orleans grew into such a large city?
Exactly. New Orleans had been part of the French Empire before the United States purchased it in 1803. In the first half of the 19th century, it rose in importance largely because of the cotton boom and its position near the mouth of the Mississippi River. Steamboats moved down the river transporting cotton grown on plantations along the river and throughout the South to the port at New Orleans. From there, the bulk of American cotton went to England, where it was sold to British manufacturers who ran the cotton mills. This lucrative international trade brought new wealth and new residents to the city. By 1840, New Orleans alone had 12% of the nation's total banking capital, and visitors often commented on the great cultural diversity of the city becoming a thriving metropolis that rivaled New York in importance.
Now, answer the questions. 1. What is the lecture mainly about? 2. What part of the cotton growing process took place in March and April? 3. Why does the professor talk about steamboats? 4. What does the professor imply about the slaves working on the cotton plantations? Five. Why does the professor say this?
But I think it would be helpful to take a step back and take a closer look at how cotton was grown.
6. What does the professor imply about slave owners? Now listen to part of a talk in an economics class.
As we all know, people sometimes make decisions that seem irrational and not in their own best interest. These decisions can seem inconsistent from one day to the next, and they even deliberately ignore ways to save money or time. The traditional economic models assume rationality, which means that people take all available information and make consistent and informed decisions that are in their best interest all the time. Now, I'm laughing because it probably seems obvious to you that this is clearly not the case. People are impulsive and moody. Still, it's important to keep in mind that this traditional model of economics was almost universally agreed upon until behavioral economics came around in the 1970s. So let's look at an example of the traditional model of economics. Imagine that yesterday you had a $10 bill in your pocket, but you lost it. The next day, you received an extra $10 bill in your paycheck. Simple. Now, according to traditional economists, you would feel completely neutral about this. After all, you lost $10 and then gained $10. You are financially the same as you were before, so you shouldn't feel much of anything about this entire situation. Behavioral economists argue that the traditional method leaves out something very important: people's state of mind. Research has shown that people tend to focus much more on a loss than a gain. A loss of $10 is more likely to be accompanied by anger and frustration, while a gain of $10 will elicit much less intense emotions. This is known as loss aversion, where a dollar loss pains us more than twice as much as a dollar gain helps us. This insight has implications for investing, as people tend to overplay the stock market by reacting more to losses than to gains. Indeed, this behavior looks irrational to traditional economists, but is consistent once we understand better how the mind works. Another area that seems illogical is the idea of mental accounting, or putting dollars in different mental categories where they take different values. Economists typically consider dollars to have equal value to the individual, regardless of the situation. You might, for instance, think of the $25 you found in the street differently from the $25 you earned from 3 hours working in a fast food restaurant. The street money might well be treated as extra money with little rational regard to getting the best value. This is, in one sense, strange, since it is still equivalent to 3 hours of hard work in the restaurant. Yet this easy-come, easy-go mentality replaces the rational economical mind because of the situation, or context, in which the money was attained. In another example of mental accounting that seems inconsistent to a traditional economist, a person could carry a credit card debt of $1,000 that has a 15% yearly interest cost, and simultaneously have a $2,000 savings account that pays only 2% a year. That means she pays $150 a year to the credit card company while collecting only $20 annually in bank interest, so she loses $130 a year. That doesn't seem wise. The rational decision would be to pay off the debt, since a $1,000 savings account with $0 in debt is the equivalent net worth, and she would now net $20 a year. But curiously, it is not uncommon for people to ignore this advice, since they will treat a loss to their savings account as higher than the benefit of paying off the credit card. The dollars are not being treated equally in all circumstances, so it looks irrational to traditional economists. Which view is right, the behavioral economists or the traditional view? Both have their advantages, but behavioral economists have at least shed a light on trying to describe and explain behavior that has historically been dismissed as irrational. If most of us are engaged in some irrational behavior, perhaps there are deeper underlying reasons for this behavior in the first place.
Now, answer the questions. 1. What is the lecture mainly about? 2. Based on the information from the listening, indicate which characteristic on the left belongs to either traditional economists or behavioral economists. This question is worth 2 points. Three. How does the professor organize the lecture? 4. According to the professor, if you lost $10 yesterday, but then found $10 on the ground today, how would you feel about it from a traditional economist's point of view? 5. What does the professor imply about traditional and behavioral models of economics? 6. Why does the professor say this?
That means she pays $150 a year to the credit card company while collecting only $20 annually in bank interest, so she loses $130 a year. That doesn't seem wise.
Check out the TOEFL Emergency Premium Package. We have study plans for people for 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, and 1 month. So no matter how long you have to prepare, there's a study plan for you in this premium course. Has 6 practice tests. This offer is only available for our YouTube audience, so follow the link in the description to the TOEFL Premium course.
Now listen to a conversation between a student and an office worker.
Excuse me? I just got my grade report and I think there's been a mistake. It says my name on it and everything, but when I look at it, I notice these aren't my grades.
You're barking up the wrong tree here. If you have a problem with your grades, you'll have to talk to your professor about that.
No, it's not that. I know what my grades should be, and it's not these. I think something happened, like my grades got mixed up with someone else's. I'm positive this grade report is not correct.
All right. Well, before we jump to any conclusions, let me pull up your report so I can see what's going on. What's your name?
Jessica Simpson?
Okay. So, I have your report on my screen. Does this match what you have?
No. I mean, that looks like the grades I was supposed to have, but oh wait, this isn't my grade report. But maybe this is the person that my grade report got switched up with. Look, her name is also Jessica Simpson, but the middle initial is different. Mine is L, but this one says Jessica J. Simpson. That's got to be it.
That's possible now that I think about it. That shouldn't have happened, but I guess it really could have been a mistake.
So, what do we do about it? How can we fix this? I want to have my correct grades on my transcript, and it's not my fault the grades got mixed up.
Of course. Okay, so for now, here's what I can do. First, I need to make a copy of your ID so I can confirm your identity. Then I can submit a report to have this investigated. We will have to confirm the other student's identity and reach out to the professors to confirm grades. Once all of that has happened, you should get a notice by email that the report was resolved. If you don't see a message from us within 3 days, please stop by again to check in and see what's going on, okay?
Okay, I will keep an eye out for an email from you. Thank you so much. Hopefully this can be fixed easily.
Of course. Anything else I can help you with?
Nope, that's it. Have a great day.
Now, answer the questions. 1. Why does the student want to talk to the records and registration worker? 2. Listen again to part of the passage. Why does the campus worker say this?
You're barking up the wrong tree here. If you have a problem with your grades, you'll have to talk to your professor about that. 3. Why does the student have an incorrect grade report? 4. How will the campus worker help solve the student's problem? Five. How will the student know when her problem is resolved?
Now listen to part of a talk in an astronomy class.
Now, it may not look it to us, but the Earth and the Sun are living things just like you and I. They were born at some point, and now they live, and unfortunately, one day they will die. Sad, I know, but take comfort in the fact that these things most likely will not come to pass for another billion years, so I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Still, as astronomers, it's important for us to consider how it would look when the sun starts to age and what type of effect it might have on Earth. And, perhaps more importantly, what can we do to save our Earth from the same sun that gives us so much life? Well, let's look at the sun first. Not literally, of course. I don't want any of you going blind while in my class. Okay, so the sun is somewhere in the neighborhood of 4.5 billion years old. In its younger days, it produced only about 70% of the energy that it radiates today. Carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere has steadily declined as the sun has increased what we astronomers refer to as luminosity, which is the strength and brightness of the sun's energy. This increase in luminosity and decrease in carbon dioxide on Earth has led to a fairly stable climate, which has been the key in development of complex life forms on our planet. As a result of changes at its core, the sun will continue to increase in luminosity as it grows older, and more radiation will reach Earth. For a while, the amount of carbon dioxide will continue to decrease. Eventually, the heating of Earth will melt the polar ice caps and increase the evaporation of the oceans. About 1 billion years from now, Earth will lose its water vapor. In the upper atmosphere, sunlight will break down water vapor into hydrogen, and the fast-moving hydrogen atoms will escape into outer space. Earth will start to resemble the planet Venus of today, and temperatures will become much too high for life as we know it. Now, all of this will happen before the sun even becomes a red giant. Then the really bad news starts. The sun, as it expands, will swallow Mercury and Venus, and friction with our star's outer atmosphere will make these planets spin inward until they are completely destroyed. It is not completely clear whether Earth will escape a similar fate. What, then, can we Earthlings do to preserve life on our planet? One alternative may be to move the entire Earth progressively farther from the sun. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we astronomers are fairly serious. The idea is to use gravity in the same way rockets have used it to send spacecrafts to distant planets. When a spacecraft flies near a planet, the planet's motion can be used to speed up the spacecraft, slow it down, or redirect it. Calculations show that if we were to redirect an asteroid so that it follows just the right orbit between Earth and Jupiter, it could transfer orbital energy from Jupiter to Earth and move Earth slowly outward, pulling us away from the expanding sun. Now, it may seem crazy to think about projects to move an entire planet to a different orbit, but remember that we're talking about the distant future. If, by some miracle, human beings are able to get along for all that time and don't blow ourselves to bits, our technology is likely to be far more sophisticated than it is today. It may also be that if humans survive for hundreds of millions of years, we may spread to planets or habitats around other stars. Indeed, Earth, by then, might be a museum world to which youngsters from other planets return to learn about the origin of our species. It is also possible that evolution will, by then, have changed us in ways that allow us to survive in very different environments. The possibilities are endless.
Now, answer the questions. 1. What is the lecture mainly about? 2. Why does the professor say this?
Sad, I know, but take comfort in the fact that these things most likely will not come to pass for another billion years, so I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
3. According to the passage, which of the following is a way to preserve life on Earth suggested by astronomers? Four. What does the professor imply about the future of the Earth? Five. What change in the sun is going to cause problems on Earth? Six. What does the professor say are some possible ways that we might survive as the sun continues to grow? Select 2.
Congratulations on making it to the end. There's a million other things you could be doing besides preparing for the TOEFL, so be proud of yourself that you sat down and you did this. Good job. Seriously, it's pretty boring, I'll be honest. If you need more help, again, check out TST Prep. We have teachers, we have courses, we have practice questions, we have everything that you need for TOEFL. And if you are feeling like you need some more tips on TOEFL listening and need some advice on how to answer these questions better, check out this video here. I think you'll find it helpful. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.